It's June 10th, 1995, and this is the 120th Commencement from the University of Washington in Seattle. We're here on this special occasion to honor the 8,800 students about to graduate, a day they will no doubt remember the rest of their lives. The University of Washington is proud to share this event with you as we present Commencement 1995. I'm Jack Armstrong, and with me is my colleague Pam Stewart, and on behalf of UWTV, we'll be providing commentary for today's ceremony. Pam, there's just a tremendous feeling of excitement here at Heck Edmondson Pavilion as the graduates prepare to receive their diplomas.
Jack, there sure is. First of all, let me say what a pleasure it is to be covering this event with you today. You know, on our way in here, we had a chance to watch some of the graduates line up outside under Husky Stadium. And even though the weather is not quite cooperating today, I don't think there is anything that can dampen the spirits of these folks. And this is our second event today, and I'm looking forward to this one just as much as I did the one this morning.
And so am I, Pam. Let's take a moment to describe the television coverage of the event. For only the second time in university history, the commencement ceremonies are being telecast on UWTV, Cable Channel 27.
This is one of two ceremonies being held on campus today. To avoid confusion, let us tell you that you are watching the afternoon ceremony, and it is being aired live. The morning ceremony was videotaped earlier today. The morning event, called the Purple Ceremony, was for those baccalaureate and graduate candidates receiving degrees from the Arts, Humanities, and Social Science departments of the College of Arts and Sciences. This ceremony, the gold, is for graduates of all other schools and colleges and for those baccalaureate and graduate degree candidates from the science departments of the College of Arts and Sciences. Both ceremonies will be shown again tomorrow, June 11th, on UWTV, beginning at 2:30 in the afternoon, and all week long, June 12th through 16th, Monday through Friday, beginning each night at midnight. So if you missed it or you want to video record it or tape record it, this will allow you a lot of opportunities.
And we do encourage you to record the ceremonies. We have multiple video cameras set up to provide maximum coverage of this special event. For all of you who aren't able to attend in person, we hope to give you the feeling of actually being here. You may, in fact, have the best seat in the house. And once again, we remind you that you're welcome to record this program to share with others and save for posterity. You can also receive a free copy of the printed program from the Office of Public Exercises at Box 355-833, University of Washington, Seattle, Washington, 98195. Now, don't be concerned about scrambling for pen or pencil right now. We'll repeat this information at the end of today's coverage.
watching as the 120th Commencement exercises at the University of Washington continue, and the graduates file in to take their seats. You know, Jack, participation in graduation has really grown in recent years.
It sure has, Pam, and it's grown dramatically. Up until 1986, the university had one commencement ceremony. Then in the 70s and 80s, interest revived and attendance grew. The university instituted two separate ceremonies to accommodate that growth.
Yes, in fact, this year, participation in graduation is at an all-time high. About 50% of the graduates receiving degrees have chosen to participate this year. And let me just contrast that with the late 60s and the early 70s. You remember that, Jack, the politically tumultuous years when attendance dropped to an all-time low, or participation dropped to an all-time low of approximately 18%. So that's quite a difference.
And the difference, well, that fills up Heck Edmondson Pavilion today. It is literally overflowing. Let's briefly take a few moments to describe what we'll be seeing and hearing here today. Right now, we're watching the processional, and this takes approximately 25 minutes. We've already used up a few minutes of that time. When the formal program begins, we'll hear the opening announcement presented by Ron Moore, University Marshal and Professor of Philosophy. This will be followed by our national anthem and then a Regent special recognition of President Gerberding. Today, we are not only saying farewell to our graduates, but we're also saying a special farewell to our president, William P. Gerberding. Following the recognition, President Gerberding will introduce the Regents, after which several awards will be presented. The student body president will be recognized, and then the commencement address will be presented by broadcast journalist Tom Brokaw, anchor and managing editor of the NBC Nightly News. It's an outstanding program, but it's the next event, the conferring of the undergraduate and graduate degrees, that is no doubt the real climax for the participants, friends, and families who are here today. Each graduate will come forward to receive recognition. When the conferring of degrees is completed, Professor Moore will deliver the concluding statement. And in keeping with the tradition, we'll have the alma mater. You are, of course, invited to sing along. We'll conclude our coverage as the recessional gets underway, and the graduates, degrees in hand, head for what we're sure will be continued celebrations with family and friends. And so in preparation for the end of the program, Pam, are you ready to sing along with the alma mater?
Oh, right, Jack. I'll tell you what, why don't you start, hum a few bars, and I'll join in.
Just listen for me.
Speaking of songs, speaking of music, what you are hearing in the background is the processional medley, today being performed by students from the UW School of Music's Wind Ensemble under the direction of Professor Timothy Salzman. So why don't we take a moment to listen and to watch as the graduates continue to file in to Heck Edmondson Pavilion. watching University of Washington Commencement, 1995. You know, Jack, we should really mention here the amazing amount of coordination and planning that it takes to get to this day.
The ceremony takes months of careful and complex planning, and it's administratively and operationally supervised by the University Office of Public Exercises.
But just think about it, getting all of these bodies into the pavilion is really an impressive feat of choreography. And although what you're seeing may look simple, we should emphasize that this entrance has not been rehearsed before.
You're exactly right, Pam. Everything is organized right down to the last detail of movement for the seating arrangements. The volunteer marshals received their written marching instructions prior to the event and have had a brief opportunity to review procedures with colleagues at the pavilion on the day before graduation. They meet the graduates for the first time on Saturday when they assemble outside Heck Edmondson Pavilion under the north stands of Husky Stadium and all around the Heck Ed building itself. As they enter, there are 2 blocks of seats being filled by 4 lines of people simultaneously, and remarkably, with multiple lines moving simultaneously, they get there on time and seated properly without incident.
At least we hope that's the case.
Yes, we do.
You know, Jack, I come to a lot of basketball games here in Heck Ed, and I'm just amazed by the transformation of this cozy old basketball arena into the showplace that it is today for graduation. It's really remarkable.
Remarkable, yes. Easy? Not even close. It takes a whole month to get this place ready for today, beginning with the removal of that friendly old basketball court, and then all the preparation of the flooring, which requires multiple coats of wax for a rich, luxurious shine.
You know, I watched them putting the flags and the seals and the banners up that you'll see at the east end of the pavilion earlier this week, and the American flag alone is something like 50 feet wide, so this is no small task.
As we sit back at the far end of the pavilion, it is an impressive sight. The university used to provide its own stage, but now has an outside contractor provide that service. It's a major amount of work, starting with the construction of the platform, then the ramp, the stairs, and finally the podium. This is all followed by the miles and miles of wiring that have to be laid down, and I promise you we can attest to that.
Oh, you bet.
And that's followed by the carpeting, drapes, and other touches. And all of this is to be complemented attractively by the potted trees and flower boxes.
And not to mention what you said earlier about the choreography required to just seat all these people. Amazing. And guess what? They get to dismantle everything starting tomorrow, and next year do it all over again.
Right. And by this time tomorrow, the room will be completely changed. Let's take a moment now and watch the processional as it develops.
We'd like to remind you that you are watching the 120th Commencement of the University of Washington. This is a live telecast of the second of 2 ceremonies held today. In recent years, the large number of graduates participating has created the need for 2 separate ceremonies. The one you're about to watch, or that you're watching as the graduates stream in, is the gold ceremony, which honors graduates of the College of Arts and Sciences science departments, as well as all the other schools and colleges here at the university. The purple ceremony, which was recorded earlier today, honored those graduates of the College of Arts and Sciences Arts, Humanities, and Social Science divisions. Both will be re-aired throughout the week, and we'll be telling you more about that as this telecast continues.
As we watch the graduates enter the hall, you know, Pam, I'm always struck by the pageantry of gowns.
Yeah, there really is some pretty interesting history surrounding these academic costumes, the gowns, the hats, the hoods, all the colors that you see.
Well, here are just a few tidbits of interest about the traditional cap and gown worn by the faculty and the graduates. They date back to the Middle Ages, and at that time the cap and gown were worn mainly for protection against the cold and drafty buildings. Had a practical use. I think we still have some of those buildings.
Yeah, I think we do have a few of those around.
Someplace in Europe.
Right.
Today, they are the preeminent symbols of academic life. Here at the university, the bachelor's and master's gowns are black. The matching Oxford cap or mortarboard has a long tassel fastened to the middle at the top. The tassel is worn over the left side of the cap. The colors of the tassels vary depending on the candidate's school or college. And there's much, much, much more.
Right. In the old days, the distinctive gown served also to set the student apart from his fellow citizens. You've probably heard the phrase town and gown. Well, that is supposed to be the origin of that phrase. And, you know, today in contemporary times, the phrase is still used, but today it mostly describes the occasional interplay and sometimes even conflict between institutions of higher education and their surrounding environments.
Let's just take another moment now and watch these graduates as they enter the hallway.
Jack, I'd like to take a minute to describe for our viewers the dais at the front of the arena where many of the VIPs for today's event will be sitting. A great number of the seats are already occupied by faculty, and we have quite a large participation by faculty this year. In fact, it is the highest participation rate by faculty ever. There are about 150 faculty who are participating, and they do various things. You see some of them down on the floor, directing the students to their seats. Others are leading the students in at the head of their particular schools and colleges. And then others just want to participate because of the solemnity, the joyousness of the event. Other people who will be ascending the dais, and you will meet them in a minute, and they're part of the President's Party and the Dean's Party, are the President, today's commencement speaker, the Board of Regents, the deans of the various schools and colleges, invited guests, student representatives, award winners, members of the administration. So they'll be entering shortly.
And of course, there are others in the building here with us today, and they include the parents, the relatives, and the friends of the graduates. There's always an overflow crowd here at HEC Edmondson, and those who are not able to be seated in the main auditorium are accommodated in a room adjacent to the main auditorium, viewing and hearing the ceremony on closed-circuit TV. That's quite a hat.
We should point that out.
I like that,
yeah.
yes.
I wonder if those are
I wonder if
building construction
we can pick
people,
up a couple of
civil
those when we go out
engineers,
today.
I'm not sure. Yeah. And this year, as you know, we have a very popular commencement speaker, distinguished NBC News anchor Tom Brokaw. Traditionally, the commencement speech was given by the president of the university, but beginning in 1990, this tradition was broken when former governor, university president, U.S. senator, and now a regent here at the university, Dan Evans, was invited to give the address. And continuing since that time, special guest speakers have been recruited for this honor. Today's commencement speech by Mr. Brokaw, for your information, will be reshown on UWTV at 7:30 on Wednesday, June 14th, and again at 6 o'clock on Saturday night, June 17th.
We hope you are enjoying this coverage of Commencement 1995. Please feel free to videotape any or all of the telecast for your personal use and to keep as a keepsake. My name is Jack Armstrong. I'm here with Pam Stewart. It's Saturday, June 10th, and you are watching from the University of Washington, Commencement 1995. Now entering is this year's University Marshal Ron Moore, Professor of Philosophy, leading some of the other dignitaries. Professor Moore is carrying the University Mace. The mace was originally used as a weapon by mounted knights for self-protection. It has a very interesting history all of its own. Since that time, its use has changed. It has become a symbol of authority, indicating that the proceedings to follow have official sanction.
This particular mace, let me point out, Dr. Gerberding is just passing. The President's Party is now entering. and you can see the mace being carried by the University Marshal Ron Moore, as Jack just described. This particular mace is very interesting. If you were able to get up close to it, you'd see reproductions of several university features. For example, the triangular headpiece on the end there is made of gold-plated sterling silver topped by a silver reproduction of Drumheller Fountain, which, as you know, is a prominent feature on this campus. Each of the three sides carries an engraving. On one side is the university seal. On another, an engraving of Denny Hall, which coincidentally is 100 years old this year, built in 1985, and 1895, and it's the oldest building on the campus. And on the third side of the mace, an engraving of the university building on the original territorial campus. The shaft of the mace, we have a really good shot of it right now, is made of dark rosewood decorated in gold, and the name of the university is inscribed in purple enamel on the headpiece. The mace itself is about 3 feet long, weighs about 5 pounds. And when it's not being carried in official ceremonies such as these, it resides in a display case in the Regents' Room in the administration building. And speaking of the administration building, we'll have something very special to say about that later on in the telecast. This particular mace was presented to the university in 1961 on the occasion of the centennial of the university by the University of Washington Alumni Association.
Well, we're getting a pretty good look at that mace, Pam, but you've given a great description. We really have an understanding what it's all about. Tradition and authority, the university mace. Now, let's sit back, enjoy, and watch the processional as it develops and leading forward to the time of the formal program. There's definitely an air of electricity in the air, almost a sense of giddiness as these graduates, bursting with pride, and for good reason, and probably some relief, enter into the next phase of their lives. But at the same time, the ancient traditions serve to keep this a solemn occasion. It's impossible just not to be impressed by the pomp and circumstance of the event. This may be the most formal ceremony some of us will ever participate in.
Jack, it is interesting to feel this excitement coupled, as you have described, with this time-honored tradition. And I imagine there's a bit of anxiety, too, as these graduates are prepared to leave their alma mater and go out into the world.
And so as we move to the last moments before the start of the formal program, let's now just sit back and relax and watch the events of the 120th Commencement of the University of Washington as they unfold.
Waiting for Ron to make some kind of an announcement.
Now? A bunch of authoritarians who follow the marshal, who want to follow the president.
The commencement exercises of the University of Washington will be opened with the singing of the Star-Spangled Banner by Kevin Helpe, a voice student in the School of Music. The audience will please rise.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Please be seated. I would like to introduce the President of the Board of Regents, Regent Andrew V. Smith, who has a special tribute to make today.
This is President William P. Gerberding's 16th and final University of Washington's commencement ceremony. He has praised and honored many people during the past 16 years, and today, on behalf of all the students, faculty, and others who have passed this way during his presidency, I wish to depart from our usual ceremony to praise and honor him. President Gerberding has served the longest presidential term in the university's history and one of the most illustrious. He has been a forceful leader with one overriding goal: to bring this institution to the highest possible level of academic distinction. When state budget crises threatened that goal in the early 1980s, he took the university's case to the legislature, and by the end of the decade won funding to restore eroded salaries and programs. When aging science facilities threatened teaching and research, he persuaded the legislature to fund major building projects on campus. And he also won the UW many new friends in the community, so that the university's first major campaign for private funding raised $284 million. His success is evident everywhere on campus, in a splendid and distinguished facility, in a faculty that is wondrous in its strength, in beautiful new facilities like the Allen Library and the Physics and Astronomy and Chemistry buildings, in new endowments for professorships, undergraduate scholarships, and graduate fellowships, and in new programs designed to enhance undergraduate education. He was an early champion of the freshman seminar program, for example, which gives first-year students smaller classes with senior faculty. And on the faculty side, he has fostered a climate of collegiality and civility that makes this the envy of many other institutions. The university's national prestige has also grown during his tenure. Many UW programs have achieved top-tier ranking in national surveys. Applications to our graduate programs have increased by 90% during the past decade, and the University of Washington is now second among all U.S. universities, public and private, in receipt of federal research funds. 4 Nobel Prizes have been awarded during the Gerberding presidency, the first Nobels in the history of this university. For all these accomplishments, President Gerberding, and for uncommon wisdom, strength, and grace, the University of Washington salutes you. Hail and farewell. It is now my pleasure to introduce to you Dr. Gerberding, who will preside over these ceremonies. Bill?
Well, thank you very much for those generous words, some of which are even deserved. It has been a privilege and an honor to serve this remarkable university for such a long time. I am grateful to everyone who has been a part of it, to our peerless students, to our very distinguished faculty, to the Board of Regents, and to the larger community. I regard myself as a very lucky man. And now I am pleased to welcome everyone to the 120th Commencement Ceremony of the University of Washington. Commencement ceremonies are an expression of academic traditions going back hundreds of years, indeed to the 13th century, when they actually used to wear these gowns all the time. And they symbolize some of the most fundamental values of our civilization, most particularly the pursuit of truth, the preservation of freedom, and the cultivation of a climate of civility and discourse. These ceremonies are also festive, celebrating the commencement of new activities and challenges in the lives of the graduates, as well as the successful conclusion of at least one phase of their formal education. The diversity of this university is nearly as striking as its distinction, and the graduates today are completing professional and academic courses of study which reflect the complexity of this society and the concerns of our faculty and student. I am honored, therefore, to be the first to congratulate formally the degree award recipients and to welcome all of you to these ceremonies. These graduates should be very proud of themselves, and I know that we are very proud of them. It is appropriate, therefore, that we all stand up, everyone, including the graduates, and applaud this wonderful class of 1995. And now I think the graduates, who of course have done everything on their own and are entirely self-sufficient, should nonetheless applaud their families and friends who have helped them along the way. Some statistics may be of interest to you. Over the past academic year, 6,000 students have earned a bachelor's degree, and more than 8,800 new degrees overall have been awarded. About 52% of the bachelor's degrees and 51% of the master's degrees were earned by women. "45% of the new lawyers are women. 47% of the new physicians are women. 27% of the dentists, and 39% of the PhDs were earned by women. A snapshot of a changing society and a continuing revolution. Over 4,400 of this year's graduates are participating in the two ceremonies today, and many others have participated in separate ceremonies in various schools and colleges. Some are doing both. Each year, the number of students participating in these ceremonies has increased, and as far as we can tell, the number this year is the largest in the history of the university. We now hold two ceremonies. This morning, a ceremony was held for College of Arts and Sciences, Arts, Humanities, and Social Science departments. This afternoon, we honor graduates of the Arts and Sciences College Science departments and the university's other schools and colleges. The fine music you have been listening to during the processional, and which you will be hearing more of throughout the afternoon, is being provided for us by students from the School of Music's Wind Ensemble under the direction of Professor Timothy Saltzman. They are, as you can tell, gifted musicians, and we greatly appreciate their participation here today. The ultimate responsibility for operation of the university lies with the members of the Board of Regents, 9 citizens of the state who are appointed by the governor and confirmed by the state senate. These dedicated men and women serve without pay and devote many hours each year to the welfare of the university. At this time, I would like to introduce the regents of the University of Washington. You have already met Regent Andrew Smith, president of the board, Scott Oakey, Vice President of the Board, Mari Clack, David Cohn, Daniel J. Evans, Jerome Ferris, who is unable to be here this afternoon, John Runstad, Paul Skinner, who is unable to be here, and Samuel Strom. Please recognize our Board of Regents. In addition to the regents, we have seated on the platform this afternoon the chief academic and administrative officers of the university, including the provost, whom you will meet in a moment, the vice presidents, the deans of the schools and colleges, who will be introduced in due course, the leadership of the faculty senate, the elected student leaders on campus, and many faculty members, professors emeriti, and other representatives from various schools, colleges, and departments. I would also like to acknowledge the more than 150 members of the faculty here today serving as commencement marshals. Their names are listed on page 7 of the commencement program. The provost is the chief academic and budget officer of the university. David Thorud, dean of the College of Forest Resources, has been acting provost since last August and has done a splendid job in that difficult capacity. Provost Thorud will present this year's Teaching and Public Service Awards.
In order to strengthen the university's dedication to teaching excellence, the university each year presents Distinguished Teaching Awards to faculty and Excellence in Teaching Awards to graduate teaching assistants. Many elements of the university community participate in the process of identifying and selecting those who rank foremost among their peers in teaching excellence. 5 University of Washington professors and 2 graduate students with teaching responsibilities have been selected to receive awards this year. I will ask them to rise and remain standing until all are introduced. Perhaps you can hold your applause until all are standing. The recipients of the Distinguished Teaching Awards are Stephen Starek, who is a professor of music, Gaetano Borriello, who is unable to be here this afternoon, and Carl Ebeling, who is with us. Both are associate professors of computer science and engineering. Kellen Kuhn, associate professor of electrical engineering, and David Madigan, assistant professor of statistics. The recipients of the Excellence in Teaching Awards are Jeff Barnhart, who is a teaching assistant in Romance Languages and Literature, and Elizabeth Oljar, who is a teaching assistant in philosophy. Selected by a committee of faculty, students, and alumni, the honorees were cited for superior mastery of their discipline, their ability to transmit knowledge, and their concern for students. We are proud of our teaching faculty. The honor these recipients received today is especially precious to a member of the academic community. So please join me in applauding these exceptional teachers. The university also presents an award in recognition of outstanding public service on the part of a university faculty or staff member. This year's recipient is Dr. Peter K. Domoto, Associate Professor and Chairman of the Department of Pediatric Dentistry. Would Dr. Domoto please stand? For many years, Dr. Domoto has provided extraordinary leadership to the cause of improving the oral health of disadvantaged children. He has worked with public agencies and private practitioners throughout the state, bringing them together in productive collaborations that have brought expert dental care for the first time to the state's youngest and neediest citizens. Dr. Domoto has volunteered countless hours in analyzing and documenting children's dental health needs in working with agencies like the Yakima Valley Farm Workers Clinics and the Federal Women, Infants, and Children's Nutrition Program, and also in personally training community dentists to treat very young children. He has inspired colleagues and brought hope to needy families. In 1994, as chair of the Children's Dental Access Task Force, Dr. Domoto marshaled statewide efforts and funding as well to carry out an assessment of oral disease in children. He then convened a statewide conference to address the problems his research had uncovered. For a long career of using his professional gifts in creative and dedicated service to the health of needy children, the University of Washington commends him.
This is my last opportunity to say something to University of Washington graduates. I will be brief. To those of you returning to other countries, I express our best wishes for your futures and those of your countries. We trust you have benefited from your education here, and we know that you have enriched the intellectual, social, and cultural life of our students, faculty, and staff. To the rest of you, I make the following observations. The air is full of foreboding, doubt, and even fear about the future of this country. The ancient American optimism and sense of expanded opportunity are badly frayed. We live in a loud time. Some of the loudness is merely rhetorical, some of it is more lethal. if one focuses on issues like drug abuse, a growing underclass, teenage pregnancy, racial problems, a federal government with immense indebtedness, and no apparent consensus about how to deal with these and other intractable problems, then a sense of gloom and hopelessness, or at least deep anxiety, is not easy to avoid. Even I, a hopeless and unreconstructed romantic about the United States, sometimes believe that we are having a national nervous breakdown. But there is another way to look at all of this. We are not at war, and we are not likely to be. Moreover, the economy is strong and resilient, though full of stress and dislocation. When I was your age, people used to run for president on platforms that stressed peace and prosperity. That was good enough in those days. And here we are. We have it. That's not bad. And our racial complexity is, of course, also a source of strength, as is our constant renewal and challenge from new immigrants. And we remain a free and democratic nation. And viewed through the prism of history, that is an uncommon blessing. The future of this blessed country is not bleak, it is exciting and promising. You, as citizens and as graduates of this great university, which is, by the way, itself an expression of a progressive and optimistic and free citizenry, you are the beneficiaries of the traditions and conditions I have just mentioned. In sum, your opportunities are vast, and so should be your ambitions and your horizons. Your university looks to your individual futures with optimism and confidence. Go forth with your heads high, and we will follow you with pride, affection, and confidence. Thank you. Since 1932, we have presented a medal to the graduating senior who has achieved the most distinguished academic record at the university. Will Eric Joseph Novak please come forward? Eric was born and raised in Port Angeles and attended Port Angeles High School, graduating as a Washington State scholar. He began his studies at the university in the fall of 1990 and completed his baccalaureate degree this quarter, graduating summa cum laude with 2 degrees, a Bachelor of Science in Biology and a Bachelor of Arts in Swedish. He is a member of the Golden Key National Honor Society, one of several organizations that have awarded him scholarships, and is also this year's winner of the College of Arts and Sciences Dean's Medal in the Sciences. While the grade point average is not the sole determinant of this award, the committee that selects the recipient looks at other things as well, such as the number of honors and upper division courses taken. It is important. Eric is graduating today with a perfect 4.0 average. And a lovely sense of humor. He achieved this record while fulfilling the requirements for 2 very different majors, one in the humanities and one in the sciences, though he did manage to combine these interests by taking a year abroad at Uppsala University in Sweden, where he studied biology in Swedish. Now, when I first heard that, I overrated it. It turns out his mother is from Sweden. He conducted undergraduate research projects both here and at Uppsala, and results of the university project were published under his name in a scientific journal. This fall, Eric will continue as a student at the University of Washington when he will enter his first year of medical school in our highly ranked School of Medicine. His father is an orthopedic surgeon. Not bad, Eric. It is my pleasure to present you, Eric, this medal in recognition of your outstanding achievements at this university. The next time we're charged with being an elitist institution, I'm going to remember Eric. At this time, I would also like to recognize those students who were candidates for the President's Medal by virtue of their achievements of a nearly perfect average of 3.93 or more in their undergraduate work. These students, along with the President's Medalist, are today graduating with the university's highest baccalaureate honor, summa cum laude. Their names are listed on pages 10 and 11 of the commencement program. Also listed are the names of students who are being graduated magna cum laude, having achieved a grade point average of 3.78, and cum laude, having achieved a grade point average of 3.65. I understate the matter drastically when I observe that I would not have been a member of any of those three groups. Student government is an important component of the governance of this institution, and its leadership is called on regularly to represent student views on a wide range of issues at the university. Over the years, the students of this university have been very well represented by their elected leaders, and this year is no exception. I am very pleased to introduce the president of the Associated Students of the University of Washington, Phil Neiswender.
Thank you, President Gerberding. I feel truly honored to be a part of the last pack of Huskies to graduate under your tutelage. And I'd like to thank you also for contributing so much of your time toward making this university great. I know we both are breathing a sigh of relief as we're headed out the door. I'd also like to thank all the friends and family here who helped us graduates make it through school. We really couldn't have done it without you. As I was thinking about what I wanted to say here today, I started thinking about all the things I was going to miss about college. But mostly I found myself thinking about all the things I'd enjoy about graduating. One thing I'm really excited about is being able to read a book without a highlighter pen. And for that matter, to have time to read all those books I've been meaning to read but just haven't had the time. But on the other hand, I'm going to miss the intellectual charge of this university. I'll miss all those people who I've so adamantly disagreed with, but who I've learned more from than all of my like-minded friends ever could. One thing I've been trying to figure out is this Generation X label many of us have picked up. Is it just a marketing gimmick, or are we in fact a bunch of slackers who are living in a privileged dream world? I believe it's a little of both, but whatever the case, we must seek to live out our dreams and not live in that dream world. We cannot live in virtual reality. Instead, we must live in what can often be a cold, hard reality. In so doing, we must continue our intellectual pursuits, no matter where our future takes us. As a great Jewish scholar and theologian, Abraham Heschel wrote, "The essential value of the intellectual experience is the experience itself. Its value is not to be looked for in the external gain that may and should ensue, but in the intrinsic insight that will endure. He went on further to state that a life without demands on the mind, heart, body, and soul, a life without constant intellectual effort, spells the doom of culture. I hope that no matter where tomorrow takes us all, we will be among those who save our culture rather than doom it. Thank you and good luck.
Thank you, Phil. Our commencement speaker, Tom Brokaw, is well known to all of you as the anchor and managing editor of NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw, and as one of the nation's most distinguished broadcast journalists. He grew up in South Dakota, most notably in Yankton, and began his journalism career in Omaha. He joined NBC News in 1966 and was NBC's White House correspondent during the Watergate era. He has covered every presidential election since 1968, first as a floor reporter and since 1984 as anchor of NBC's campaign and election coverage. Since 1983, he has been sole anchor of NBC's Nightly News. He has broadcast from rooftops in Beirut, the Great Wall in China, the streets of Kuwait, Soweto in South Africa, and Somalia. One of his most memorable broadcasts was from Berlin, the night the Berlin Wall fell. He also conducted the first exclusive one-on-one interview with Mikhail Gorbachev, which won the Alfred I. DuPont Award. He has received numerous other awards for his work, including an Emmy for the NBC News special China in Crisis, and a 1990 award from the National Conference of Christians and Jews for advancing the understanding of religion, race, and ethnicity. He has written for many publications, including the New York Times and the Washington Post. He is a trustee of the University of South Dakota, his alma mater, and of the Norton Simon Museum, and he is an advisor to the Asia Society. It is my great pleasure and honor to introduce to you Tom Brokaw.
Thank you very much, President Gerberding. I am indeed flattered to, in some small way, pay tribute to this great and distinguished educator. Also, I must tell you that I am here in part because I have an affection for being at historic events. I relish the idea of doing that first interview with Mikhail Gorbachev. I was exhilarated by being at the Berlin Wall the night that it fell. I remember now, as if it were yesterday, the initial launches of the space shuttle. I was in the Persian Gulf for the war. I was in Tiananmen Square right after the riots there. So I like to be at historic occasions. And this, after all, is the ultimate Gerb sighting. So I'm very happy to be here today as well. Now, I have heard his friends and admirers over the years describe President Gerberding as being irreplaceable. But I had no idea until I began to read about the search for a president, and I think that this is another historic occasion. We have assembled on the stage here today the regents of the University of Washington in one of their rare public appearances, ladies and gentlemen. And in the robing room, they came up with an imaginative idea for choosing the next president of this great institution. All of you who do not have a job by this fall will be asked to submit your name. There will be a drawing on September 1st, and one of you, men or women, before this day is out, could be the next president-elect of the University of Washington. I think that from time to time, you get more productivity out of people and out of groups and out of committees if you change their assignments slightly. So I have this proposal. I think the regents ought to redesign the football helmet, and the athletic department ought to pick the president of the University of Washington. I want to offer a special greeting to a group with whom I feel special bonds here today, the parents of these graduates. You're not losing a son or a daughter, you're gaining a bank account. 2 years ago, when the last of the Brokaw offspring graduated, and I must tell you that at one point I had a daughter at Duke, a daughter at Berkeley, and a daughter at medical school. When the last of the Brokaw offspring graduated 2 years ago, a friend of mine had made up for my pickup in Montana a bumper sticker that read, "Tuition free in '93." There is a new phenomenon going on in American life that some of you may not be aware of, and that is that parents of college students are moving into smaller homes so their children cannot move back into their old bedrooms. I made a mistake this morning. I referred to it by its old title. I have a great affection for the Pac-10, or what will be the Pac-10 again come this fall once the probation period ends. I had simultaneously a daughter at Cal Berkeley and a daughter at Stanford. Or as I used to say, it's like having one child who's a member of the Grateful Dead and another who's a member of the Mormon Tabernacle Choir. It's something that went over very well at Berkeley, not so well at Stanford. And this morning, young Eric and I bonded as well. When I heard his credentials read, I allowed as how I was trying to find a parallel between his academic career and mine, and the only thing that I could think of is that when I was studying biology, it might as well have been in Swedish. Eric, during the noon break, came up to me and said that he would be prepared to teach me Swedish. I thought about that for a moment, and then I tried to think of the use to which I might put it, and it's a true story. I've rejected the idea because then I would have to go to Sweden to become a newscaster, and in Sweden, they call their anchorman a kronkiter. I did address those students who were concentrating on the humanities this morning. I have road tested my remarks for those of you who are science students. I want you to know as well, fairness in advertising, that science and technology are not my strong suits. In fact, after 33 years of doing what I do, I am still trying to figure out how the picture gets from where I work to where you watch it at home. And fair warning, there is added pressure on this group this afternoon. We had an unscheduled event late in the ceremonies this morning. A young man came to this microphone, held up a small box from Tiffany's, and proposed marriage to a young woman who was in the graduating class. We do not know many of the details. We do presume it's because he's in love with her and not because she has a job and he does not. I love these ceremonies. I especially love them at great public universities like the University of Washington. I think this is a reflection of who we are. When I look at the myriad faces that are assembled here and the backgrounds that they represent, and I feel almost palpably the pride and the parents and the families and the friends, and I know what it means not just to this state, but to this region and to this nation. I feel, I will tell you, emotionally involved in these kinds of occasions. It is a great honor to be with you. It's a daunting challenge. It's also a lesson in humility. I am standing here propped up by your expectations of wisdom and humor and, most of all, brevity. I am outwardly bold in my appearance, but I am inwardly uncertain of my ability to fulfill those expectations, much less to keep you awake. However, all of us now at this point have reached the point of no return, so let us go forward together, students and families, faculty and administrators, friends and creditors. We have lives to live, careers to pursue, passions not yet realized, wonders to behold, and parties to attend. I come to you as well as a journalist, a chronicler of change, an interpreter, often imperfect, of the currents of our time. Now, it may have been my visibility, if not my achievements as a journalist, that prompted this invitation. But I want this audience to know as well that I am here too as a husband, as a father, and as a citizen. That is the four-part harmony of my life. They are complementary, and I would feel incomplete without one or another of those four parts. I've been at all of these roles now for more than 30 years. Age alone does not mean wisdom, of course, but even the most casual observer does pick up some patterns. What I have learned is that history does not follow our own calendars or cadences. It does have a way of surprising us, often shocking us, extracting a terrible price in the process. We have been witness to that again recently in the heart of Europe, in Bosnia, in the heart of Africa, in Rwanda, in the heart of Japan with the cult attack on the subway system, and tragically in the heart of America with the bombing in Oklahoma City. Of course, we've also been witness to the surprises of history, the liberation of Eastern Europe and what was called the Soviet Union, the liberation of South Africa, the flickering glow of political and economic democracy in South America, the uncertain but growing sense that the political ideals of the Age of Enlightenment can also be realized in the East and South, as well as in the West. You know, the next class to enter the University of Washington will be the last to graduate before the millennium. You have the advantage of a running start. That alone makes this gathering worthwhile, it seems to me. Think about it. You have a whole new century to play in, to shape to your interest, to the benefit of others. Moreover, you have at your disposal a dazzling assortment of new tools not even imagined not so long ago. The gee-whiz tools of communications and information, cable television, satellites, cell phones, pagers, faxes, and of course the king of them all, the personal computer. It's a spellbinding galaxy of chips and binaries, codes, nets, bytes, and bits, all lighting up the information superhighway with infinitely more stimuli than all the strobe lights at all the heavy metal concerts in the world. Email and chat rooms, virtual reality and all-color graphics, software, hardware, and caller waiting. Who could ask for anything more? And just think, not too far from where you're sitting today, an American genius, Bill Gates, has built a historically successful business and made himself fabulously rich from all of this. And he did that as a Harvard dropout. You're already well ahead of him. You have a Washington degree, after all. I have a modest suggestion as you lead us into this new century and the new age of information overload, data exchange, and 1-800-HELP from the fast lane of this new infobahn. This will be the cyberspace equivalent of a teenage joyride, reckless and pointless, unless we apply the first lesson of technological revolution to this one. Almost all of these revolutions have unexpected consequences, and they are most successful when as much effort and thought is applied to the use of the technology as to the development of it in the first place. That's our obligation. Mr. Gates and his generation have given us these tools. It is now up to us to decide how they should be used. If this new technology becomes simply another means of amusing ourselves, or simply speeding the transactions of commerce, or communicating simply for the sake of communication, then we will have failed. If this new technology becomes primarily the province of the privileged, leaving the underclass to wander in cyberspace wilderness, then we will have failed. If it becomes merely an instrument of greater invasion into our personal lives, then we will have failed. We will have failed as well if we are not vigilant about the dissemination of unfiltered, incendiary misinformation, the internet version of crying fire in a crowded theater. That, of course, is a vigilance that just transcends cyberspace, a vigilance that seems to have gone out of favor somehow in our society. We have allowed benign neglect to be the gatekeeper of language and attitude and comportment. In our treatment of each other, in our popular culture, in our most popular medium of mass communication, and in our politics, we have lowered the thresholds of civility and tolerance and replaced them with the raised voices of gratuitous denigration and intolerance. Daytime television especially has become an electronic forum for the kinds of people society once felt free to dismiss simply as trash, with no greater interest in their cheap and mindless disputes. The petty dysfunctional has become the electronic icon of our time. A young man who is a material witness in 2 brutal murders, Cato Kalin, now has become the boy toy of people who should know better. It took a horrific bombing for the country to re-examine the place and the values of extremist talk radio. Just as the reckless rhetoric of the left in the 60s could not be separated from the acts of that time, neither can the extremists who have found profit in the other end of the political spectrum be excused from their acts. They did not personally light any long fuses, and they should not be denied the First Amendment protections that enrich your lives and mine. But just as we expect to have our judgments and declarations critically reviewed for fact and merit and effect, so should they. Popular music and film and television commercials, 3 of the most powerful influences on the young of our time, are heavily laced with the arsenic of confrontation and the intimation of violence, if not the fact. The political playing fields of America too often more closely resemble WrestleMania, those contrived television matchups in which fakery and bombast and costuming count for more than talent and skills. In too many campaigns for high office, and we are witness to that even now, dialogue and discourse have disappeared, replaced by the cheapest kind of soundbite demagoguery. Alas, the language and the dialogue of political journalism at too many levels also is infected with those same cancerous genes. We're better than this, or we should be, for these patterns have consequences for today and tomorrow. If we allow the lowest common denominators to set the pace and rhythms of our life, we will lose our way. If we fail to engage each other, first in a dialogue and then in a common commitment to standards of excellence, if we fail to honor, tolerance, and compassion, then we will have squandered opportunities that young people in other societies can only imagine. There is a place in America to make a stand. You're part of it here today. It's public education. It's the underpinning of our cultural and political system. It is the great common ground in America. It's the engine that moves us as a society toward a common destiny. It is in desperate need of overhaul and renewed maintenance. Plainly, we should reserve for ourselves the right to choose educational institutions that add other values to our lives. They may be religious or social or cultural. However you choose to educate your children, however, you cannot forego your obligation as a citizen to the place of public education. It is in public education that the American dream begins to take shape. In too many places in America that I visit on a regular basis, I will tell you as a close witness, In too many places, public education has become an armed warehouse where the dream has become a nightmare of violence and indifference. In too many neighborhoods in America, the American dream is a myth, a distant and unreachable goal separate from the objective realities of inferior schools and dangerous streets and broken families and persistent racism. Your generation will have no greater challenge than the challenge of racial harmony and tolerance in the 21st century. We are increasingly a land of many colors. I see it in your faces beneath the mortarboards here today. We are a geography of Native Americans and Asians and Latinos and African hues against a diminishing backdrop of European stock. If we allow racism, expressed either as utter bigotry or dressed up as excessive ethnic pride, to metastasize at the current rates, we'll soon find ourselves at an incurable stage, unable to build walls high enough, schools private enough, industries insulated enough to withstand the ravages of this cancer. If we allow ourselves to become tribal America, divided deeply by race, judging each other only by slights and stereotypes and shifting standards, then we will be less than the sum of our parts. There is no software to show us the way. There is no delete button for bigotry wherever it appears on the racial screen. It requires instead that most basic and yet most vexing human condition, an open mind and an open heart. Remember this: it's easy to make a buck. It's tougher to make a difference. We're living through what I call the age of anxiety, a time when we're navigating without compasses through new territories. All the old markers have been swept away by the winds of change. It's no longer a bipolar world, East and West, Washington and Moscow. The global economy has stripped away America's sense of economic smugness. We remain the great locomotive that drives that new economy, but this new engine now is much less dependent on workers who could offer only a strong back and good hands and a good attendance record. Our institutions are under strain, government and the family and faith. Their place in our lives is more complex than it was when your parents or grandparents were coming of age. Some of that is the result of size or new pressures or doubt. Whatever the cause, no society can thrive or even endure, especially a society with as many moving parts as ours, if there is no connective institutional strength. Your degree from this institution is a passport of the privileged. It takes you almost automatically into the higher strata of the universe in which you live. You must think of it, however, as more than that. You must think of it as a ticket to a new revolution in American life, a revolution in standards in which we raise the threshold of excellence, not lower it, a revolution that reignites the old theme of democracy, the dignity of the people, all of the people, not just the rich people or the educated people or the white people, but all of the people. Your immediate concerns, understandably, are jobs and careers and relationships. They will remain your primary focus, for they are at the heart of personal happiness and survival. However, your legacy, the measurements by which your time will be marked, will be the values that you embrace, the concerns that you share for each other in the broadest sense, gender as well as ethnic. Young men, these young women who are sitting beside you and among you are in a passage of historic proportions. You should share their excitement and encourage their determination. You should come to know their world better. You must also know, each of you, that fathering a child is a daily and a lifetime commitment. Young women, You must remember that life is also about proportion and about choice. Motherhood is not incidental to a lifetime of fulfillment. All of you know this. There is no richer life than the one that you will lead together with common values and common respect for each other's special qualities, whatever the gender. 50 years ago this spring, it was 1945. Another generation of young Americans marked a special time in their lives. Together with the British, other Western allies, and especially the Russians, they had just won the war against one of the great menaces in the history of mankind, Adolf Hitler and Nazi Germany. They were about to do the same against imperialist Japan. They did no less than save the world. They were unique. They were born in the Roaring '20s. They came of age in the Great Depression when all was bleak and without much hope. Then, almost overnight, they were asked to leave their homes, most of them for the first time, to travel thousands of miles away to fight, often hand to hand in the most primitive conditions, against history's greatest war machine. And they won. And they came home, and they built the America that we know today and that we are privileged to live in. They kept the peace. They went to college in historic proportions. They married and they had families. They built great industries and small businesses. They gave us great universities and great highway systems. They integrated America. They discovered new cures and gave us new songs. Ladies and gentlemen, they didn't whine or whimper or ask for anything. I am in awe of them. 50 years from now, let another commencement speaker stand here and say of your generation, and say of the University of Washington class of 1995, they saved their world. I am in awe of them. You've work to do. Good luck.
Tom, you honored us by coming, and you did us a greater honor by taking this responsibility so seriously. I have heard a few commencement addresses in my time. That's the best one I've ever heard. In this showbiz era with smoke and mirrors and routinely and expectedly ghost-written speeches, I would like the graduates of the class of 1995 to know that Tom Brokaw wrote that speech. Now, for those of you in these difficult disciplines that you chose and that we salute you for here today, some of you presumably took a course from one of the most popular teachers on this campus, John Bridgman, a professor of history. And you may have noticed in the program that he is the University Marshal, and he has, for as long as anybody can remember, been the University Marshal, but that is not John Bridgman. John Bridgman broke his foot. And our university marshal today is none other than another of the university's most popular teachers, and deservedly so, Professor of Philosophy, Ron Moore. Ron?
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are now ready to present the various degrees to all candidates. The audience is requested to remain in their seats until the conclusion of today's ceremony. Candidates for the doctor's degree in the School of Medicine will be presented to you, Mr. President, by Associate Dean D. Daniel Hunt.
Mr. President, it is my privilege to present to you the list of the 156 candidates for the degree of the Doctor of Medicine. I recommend that all who have satisfied our degree requirements from the School of Medicine be awarded their medical degree. These graduates have been honored in previous ceremonies, and many are on their way now to their postgraduate training and residencies. Those that are here today will follow with the other doctoral candidates.
Candidates for doctor's degrees in the School of Dentistry will be presented to you, Mr. President, by Associate Dean Penelope J. Leggett.
Mr. President, it is my pleasure and honor to present a list of doctoral candidates from the School of Dentistry. I recommend that all who have fulfilled the requirements be awarded their doctoral degrees. These graduates were honored in separate ceremonies.
Candidates for Juris Doctor degrees in the School of Law, Mr. President, will be presented to you by Dean Wallace D. Lowe.
Mr. President, on behalf of the Faculty of Law, I have the honor to present a list of the 159 candidates for the degree of Juris Doctor, with the recommendation that each who has fulfilled the requirements be awarded that degree. Ceremonies to honor these graduates were held earlier this morning. The law graduates participating in the ceremony will come forward with the other doctoral candidates.
Thank you, Dean Lowe. Dean Lowe has been the Dean of the Law School for 5 years. He has been a transforming dean. It is a better law school than it was in every sense of the term over those 5 years. We wish him every success in his new assignment as the Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs at the University of Colorado.
Candidates for Doctor of Pharmacy degrees in the School of Pharmacy will be presented to you, Mr. President, by Professor Andy Sturgachis.
Mr. President, it is an honor to present you a list of the 11 candidates for the degree of Doctor of Pharmacy. I recommend that all who have fulfilled the requirements of the School of Pharmacy be awarded their doctor degrees. These graduates were honored previously in separate ceremonies held last evening. The Doctor of Pharmacy candidates will please come forward with the other doctoral candidates.
On behalf of the regents and the faculties of the respective schools, I am pleased to confer upon these candidates the degree of Doctor of Medicine, Doctor of Dental Surgery, Juris Doctor, or Doctor of Pharmacy.
Candidates for doctoral degrees will be presented by Acting Dean Dale Johnson of the Graduate School.
Mr. President, here with us today are candidates who have completed all requirements for the degrees of Doctor of Philosophy or Doctor of Education. I request them to rise. Mr. President, on behalf of the deans of the schools and colleges and the graduate faculty, I am pleased and honored to present the candidates for the highest degrees awarded by the university. The names of those awarded doctoral degrees this year are listed in the commencement program, along with the titles of their dissertations and the names of their faculty supervisors. I recommend that these candidates be awarded their respective doctoral degrees.
On behalf of the regents and the graduate faculty, I am pleased to confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Philosophy or Doctor of Education. Congratulations. You have achieved high academic distinction, and this university salutes you. You will be presented today with a memento of this graduation exercise. Please come forward.
Payman Arab Shashi, Doctor of Philosophy, Electrical Engineering.
Raymond Manohar Anchan, Doctor of Philosophy, Biological Structure.
Subramanian Arasakasari, Doctor of Philosophy, Forest Resources.
Lauralee Sulin Arakaki, Doctor of Philosophy, Bioengineering.
Diane L. Audis, Doctor of Philosophy, Nursing.
Douglas Arm, Doctor of Philosophy, Bioengineering.
Mark L. Bartu, Doctor of Philosophy, Bioengineering.
Grace T. Bartu, Doctor of Philosophy, Bioengineering.
Robert Caldwell Bedicek, Doctor of Philosophy, Computer Science and Engineering.
Cynthia June Beagle, Doctor of Philosophy, Oceanography.
Paul Frederick Beeman, Doctor of Philosophy, Forest Resources.
Pamela Jo Baxter Palmer, Doctor of Philosophy, Chemistry.
Helen Rebecca Callison, Doctor of Philosophy, Computer Science and Engineering.
Diana S. Blair, Doctor of Philosophy, Chemical Engineering.
Scott Anthony Brown, Doctor of Philosophy, Atmospheric Sciences.
Stanley R. Boyle, Doctor of Philosophy, Civil Engineering.
Gail Elaine Bond, Doctor of Philosophy, Education.
Cheryl L. Cameron, Doctor of Philosophy, Nursing.
Gregorio S. Castilla, Doctor of Philosophy, Education.
Supachitra Chadchawan, Doctor of Philosophy, Botany.
Julie Chen, Doctor of Philosophy, Electrical Engineering.
Anchada Charanruk, Doctor of Philosophy, Electrical Engineering.
Chayuth Cheng Sung San, Doctor of Philosophy, Electrical Engineering.
Gilbert Chu, Doctor of Philosophy, Aeronautics and Astronautics.
Donald Dotway Chin, Doctor of Philosophy, Computer Science and Engineering.
Injung Cho, Doctor of Philosophy, Physics.
Rhonda Diane Davis, Doctor of Philosophy, Medicinal Chemistry.
Marilyn L. DeJeeve, Doctor of Philosophy, Education.
Judith Ann DeIro, Doctor of Philosophy, Education.
Wanyin Dung, Doctor of Philosophy, Microbiology.
John Jerome Fabarik, Doctor of Philosophy, Civil Engineering.
Matthew Wayne Dunn, Doctor of Philosophy, Special Individual PhD Program.
Jinwoo Choi, Doctor of Philosophy, Political Science.
Jing Fang, Doctor of Philosophy, Electrical Engineering.
David Glenn Embry, Doctor of Philosophy, Education.
Dean Leroy Farnham, Doctor of Philosophy, Physics.
Tracy Takashi Furutani, Doctor of Philosophy, Geological Sciences.
Mardine May Francis, Doctor of Philosophy, Education.
Ram Binsadhar Hatagadi, Doctor of Philosophy, Bioengineering.
Lisa Mummery Gartland, Doctor of Philosophy, Mechanical Engineering.
Pamela Lynn Farr, Doctor of Philosophy, Education.
Paula Dale Harder, Doctor of Philosophy, Education.
Phyllis Sue Goldman, Doctor of Philosophy, Pharmacology.
William C. Griffith, Doctor of Philosophy, Biostatistics.
Kenneth E. Hoover, Doctor of Philosophy, Education.
John A. Herring, Doctor of Philosophy, Atmospheric Sciences.
Richard Allen Heinrichsen, Doctor of Philosophy, Quantitative Ecology and Resource Management.
Youngran P. Choi, Doctor of Philosophy, Social Welfare.
Tor E. Jeremiasen, Doctor of Philosophy, Computer Science and Engineering.
Gregory E. Hyde, Doctor of Philosophy, Biological Structure.
Matthew Guy Huddleston, Doctor of Philosophy, Mathematics.
Xiaoming Huang, Doctor of Philosophy, Speech and Hearing Sciences.
James C. Johnston, Doctor of Philosophy, Education.
Mary H. Kabrick, Doctor of Philosophy, Education.
Christopher P. Keller, Doctor of Philosophy, Botany.
Richard Allen Kester, Doctor of Philosophy, Civil Engineering.
Paul Marion Kulisa, Doctor of Philosophy, Applied Mathematics.
Makoto Kosai, Doctor of Philosophy, Mechanical Engineering.
Xianghua Gu, Doctor of Philosophy, Applied Mathematics.
Connie Rose Lambert, Doctor of Philosophy, Education.
Byung-Soo Kim, Doctor of Philosophy, Aeronautics and Astronautics.
Andy Kenan Lee, Doctor of Philosophy, Physiology and Biophysics.
Chang Kiyun Lee, Doctor of Philosophy, Electrical Engineering.
Uen Kong Lee, Doctor of Philosophy, Genetics.
Jeffrey Evart Lamping, Doctor of Philosophy, Electrical Engineering.
Catherine M. McCann, Doctor of Philosophy, Computer Science and Engineering.
Stephen M. Lewis, Doctor of Philosophy, Statistics.
Shiquan Liao, Doctor of Philosophy, Quantitative Ecology and Resource Management.
John Michael Lounsbury, Doctor of Philosophy, Computer Science and Engineering.
Kristen Joy Mashoff, Doctor of Philosophy, Applied Mathematics.
Stephen Eric McKinney, Doctor of Philosophy, Biostatistics.
Cliff Liewa Ma, Doctor of Philosophy, Electrical Engineering.
Judith April Malmgren, Doctor of Philosophy, Epidemiology.
Paulette Everett Mills, Doctor of Philosophy, Education.
Hiroshi Matsumoto, Doctor of Philosophy, Education.
Dawn Mikoff, Doctor of Philosophy, Physics.
Tetsuya Monji, Doctor of Philosophy, Microbiology.
Sok-Young Moon, Doctor of Philosophy, Electrical Engineering.
William Whipple Neely, Doctor of Philosophy, Mathematics.
Matthew Dennis O'Connor, Doctor of Philosophy, Forest Resources.
Michael Merriman Neff, Doctor of Philosophy, Botany.
Robert Bruce Palmer, Doctor of Philosophy, Chemistry.
William Patrick Papalam, Doctor of Philosophy, Chemical Engineering.
Elizabeth Holmes, Doctor of Philosophy, Zoology.
Eric Donnelly Olson, Doctor of Philosophy, Physics.
Graham James Patrick, Doctor of Philosophy, Nursing.
Catherine Lee Peters, Doctor of Philosophy, Nursing.
Kevin Dwayne Perry, Doctor of Philosophy, Atmospheric Sciences.
Dorothy Marie Pattison, Doctor of Philosophy, Nursing.
Philip K.W. Fu, Doctor of Philosophy, Electrical Engineering.
Sitaram C. Raju, Doctor of Philosophy, Computer Science and Engineering.
Sarah Elizabeth Reichard, Doctor of Philosophy, Forest Resources.
Russell D. Reed, Doctor of Philosophy, Electrical Engineering.
Lee Evan Rumaner, Doctor of Philosophy, Material Science and Engineering.
Diane Harriet Rosamond, Doctor of Philosophy, Epidemiology.
Rosa Sheets, Doctor of Philosophy, Education.
Jill Elizabeth Seberg, Doctor of Philosophy, Chemical Engineering.
Amy P. Summers, Doctor of Philosophy, Education.
Yu Shen, Doctor of Philosophy, Biostatistics.
David E. Stevens, Doctor of Philosophy, Applied Mathematics.
Ruth Marie Skog, Doctor of Philosophy, Physics.
Terry Woodrow Swanson, Doctor of Philosophy, Geological Science.
Radhika Thekkath, Doctor of Philosophy, Computer Science and Engineering.
Sui Mei Tang, Doctor of Philosophy, Forest Resources.
Nicholas Vincent Strobel, Doctor of Philosophy, Astronomy.
Craig Dan Tulane, Doctor of Philosophy, Biochemistry.
Elizabeth A. Sweeney, Doctor of Philosophy, Pathobiology.
Paul Andrew Vetter, Doctor of Philosophy, Physics.
Hao Wang, Doctor of Philosophy, Pharmacology.
Kevin E. Williams, Doctor of Philosophy, Mechanical Engineering.
Wensen Tsai, Doctor of Philosophy, Civil Engineering.
John Wu, Doctor of Philosophy, Chemistry.
Diane Whitaker, Doctor of Philosophy, Education.
Joseph Michael Zog, Doctor of Philosophy, Chemistry.
Gary Allen Wayman, Doctor of Philosophy, Pharmacology.
Lei Wang, Doctor of Philosophy, Applied Mathematics.
Jenny Wu, Doctor of Philosophy, Material Science and Engineering.
Barry Allen Barajikian, Doctor of Philosophy, Fisheries.
Erchun Ye, Doctor of Philosophy, Electrical Engineering.
Marcy Lee Larson, Doctor of Education.
Robert Scott Van Pelt, Doctor of Philosophy, Forest Resources.
Judith Rail, Doctor of Philosophy, Epidemiology.
Catherine E. Schultz Ostrom, Doctor of Education.
Suzanne G. Levely, Doctor of Philosophy, Epidemiology.
Anthony Frank Shumilo, Doctor of Philosophy, Physics.
Catherine M. Newton, Doctor of Philosophy, Epidemiology.
Wern J. Sun, Doctor of Philosophy, Electrical Engineering.
Razia Sultana, Doctor of Philosophy, Pathology.
Richard Wesley Semler, Doctor of Education.
Sunbak Lee, Doctor of Musical Arts.
Chen Wei Wern, Doctor of Philosophy, Mechanical Engineering.
Sang Dan Lee, Doctor of Philosophy, Forest Resources.
Rick Minoru Tanaka, Doctor of Philosophy, Mechanical Engineering. Irwan Kuku Buddhaharjo, Doctor of Philosophy, Electrical Engineering.
Candidates for master's degrees will be presented by Dean Johnson of the Graduate School.
Candidates for the various master's degrees will please rise as the degrees are named and then remain standing. The Master of Architecture, Master of Business Administration, Master of Education, Master of Health Administration, Master of Landscape Architecture, Master of Laws, Master of Librarianship, Master of Marine Affairs, Master of Nursing, Master of Professional Accounting, Master of Public Health, Master of Science in Aeronautics and Astronautics, Master of Science in Chemical Engineering, Master of Science in Civil Engineering, Master of Science in Electrical Engineering, Master of Science in Engineering, Master of Science in Material Science and Engineering, Master of Science in Mechanical Engineering, Master of Science, Master of Social Work, and Master of Urban Planning. Mr. President, I would like to introduce Dean Margaret T. Gordon from the Graduate School of Public Affairs to present the master's candidates from that school.
Candidates for the degree of Master of Public Administration in the Graduate School of Public Affairs will please rise with the other master's candidates.
Mr. President, on behalf of the deans of the schools and colleges and the graduate faculty, I'm honored to present these candidates to receive their respective master's degrees.
On behalf of the Regents and the graduate faculty, I am pleased to confer upon each of you your master's degree. Congratulations. You will be presented today with a memento of this graduation exercise. Please come forward.
We remind you that you're watching Commencement 1995 from the University of Washington. These are ceremonies that are currently underway at Heck Edmondson Pavilion on the UW campus. And you have one of the best seats in the house. We have multiple cameras positioned around the pavilion with views of the entire proceedings. and our telecast is being presented as a public service by the University of Washington. You are welcome to tape any or all of this program. It is June 10th, 1995, the 120th commencement at the University of Washington in Seattle.
Mr. President, candidates for bachelor's degrees in the various colleges and schools of the university will be presented to you by the several deans. The candidates who have been accepted by the general faculty of the university for their respective degrees are listed in the commencement program. Candidates for bachelor's degrees in the science departments of the College of Arts and Sciences will be presented to you, Mr. President, by Dean Simpson.
Candidates for Bachelor of Science or Bachelor of Arts degrees from the College of Arts and Sciences will please rise. Mr. President, I have the honor to present these candidates for the degrees of Bachelor of Science and Bachelor of Arts and recommend that all who have fulfilled the requirements of the College of Arts and Sciences be awarded their bachelor's degrees. Candidates will please be seated.
Candidates for bachelor's degrees in the College of Education will be presented to you, Mr. President, by Dean Alan D. Glenn.
Will the candidates from the College of Education please rise? Mr. President, I have the honor to present these candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Arts and recommend that all who have fulfilled the requirements of the College of Education be awarded their bachelor's degree. Candidates, please be seated.
Bachelor candidates from the School of Pharmacy will be presented to you, Mr. President, by Professor Sturgachis.
Mr. President, on behalf of the Dean and the faculty of the School of Pharmacy, it is a pleasure and an honor to present you a list of the 72 candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Science in Pharmacy. I recommend that all who have fulfilled the requirements of the 5-year program of the School of Pharmacy be awarded their degrees. The names of the candidates may be found in the commencement program. These graduates were honored previously in separate ceremonies held on campus.
Bachelor candidates from the College of Engineering, Mr. President, will be presented to you by Dean J. Ray Bowen.
Candidates from the College of Engineering, please rise. Mr. President, it is with great pleasure that I present these candidates of the College of Engineering for the degrees Bachelor of Science, Bachelor of Science in Engineering, Bachelor of Science in Aeronautical and Astronautical, Ceramic, Chemical, Civil, Computer, Electrical, Industrial, Mechanical, and Metallurgical Engineering. I recommend that all who have fulfilled the requirements of the College of Engineering be awarded their degrees. Candidates, please be seated.
Candidates from the College of Forest Resources will be presented to you, Mr. President, by Acting Dean Dale W. Cole.
Will the candidates from the College of Forest Resources please rise? Mr. President, it's my pleasure and honor to present these candidates for their bachelor's degrees in forest resources and recommend that all those that have filled their requirements for the College of Forest Resources be awarded their respective bachelor's degrees. Candidates, please be seated.
Bachelor candidates from the School of Business Administration will be presented to you, Mr. President, by Dean William Bradford.
The candidates from the School of Business Administration will please rise. Mr. President, it is with much pleasure that I present these candidates for bachelor's degrees in the School of Business Administration and recommend that all who have fulfilled the requirements of the School of Business Administration be awarded their respective degrees. Will the candidates please be seated?
Bachelor candidates from the College of Ocean and Fishery Sciences, Mr. President, will be presented to you by Dean G. Ross Heath.
Will the candidates from the College of Ocean and Fishery Sciences please rise? It gives me great pleasure, Mr. President, to present these candidates for bachelor's degrees in oceanography, in fisheries, and in food science. I recommend that all who have completed the baccalaureate requirements of the College of Ocean and Fishery Sciences be awarded their respective degrees. Candidates will please be seated.
Bachelor candidates from the School of Nursing will be presented, Mr. President, by Associate Dean Pamela H. Mitchell.
The candidates from the School of Nursing will please rise. Mr. President, it's my pleasure and honor to present these candidates to you for the degree of Bachelor of Science in Nursing and recommend that all who have fulfilled the requirements for the degree be awarded their respective degrees. The candidates will please be seated.
Bachelor candidates from the School of Dentistry will be presented to you, Mr. President, by Associate Dean Leggett.
Will the candidates from the School of Dentistry please rise? Mr. President, it is my pleasure and honor to present a list of candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Science in Dental Hygiene. I recommend that all who have fulfilled the requirements be awarded their bachelor degrees. Will the candidates please be seated?
Bachelor candidates from the College of Architecture and Urban Planning will be presented to you, Mr. President, by Dean Jerry V. Finrow.
Will candidates from the College of Architecture and Urban Planning please rise? Mr. President, I have the honor to present these candidates for the bachelor degrees in Architecture and Urban Planning, Landscape Architecture, and in Building Construction, and recommend that all who have fulfilled the requirements of the College of Architecture and Urban Planning be awarded their respective degrees. Will candidates please be seated?
Bachelor candidates from the School of Medicine will be presented to you, Mr. President, by Associate Dean Hunt.
Will the candidates from the bachelor's degree from the School of Medicine please stand? Mr. President, it's a pleasure to present to you the bachelor candidates in the specialized degrees of physical therapy, occupational therapy, medical technology, prosthetics, and orthotics. Many of these degrees will be presented in absentia, as many have taken distant positions. We recommend the conferring of these degrees. The candidates please be seated.
Candidates from the School of Social Work will be presented to you, Mr. President, by Dean Nancy Hueyman.
Will the candidates from the School of Social Work please rise? Mr. President, it's my pleasure and honor to present these candidates for their bachelor's degree in social welfare and recommend that all who have fulfilled the requirements of the School of Social Work be awarded their respective bachelor degrees.
Candidates from the School of Public Health and Community Medicine will be presented to you, Mr. President, by Associate Dean Patricia W. Wall.
The candidates from the School of Public Health and Community Medicine will please rise. Mr. President, it is with great pleasure I present these candidates for bachelor's degrees from the School of Public Health and Community Medicine. I recommend that those who have fulfilled all the requirements for the degree in the School of Public Health and Community Medicine be awarded their respective degrees. Candidates, you may be seated. Thank you.
All bachelor candidates from all schools and colleges just presented will please rise. Many of the candidates here today have completed degree programs in summer, autumn, or winter quarters. These candidates, whom we are very glad to have with us, have already received appropriate diplomas. Candidates completing their academic programs this spring will receive their diplomas later this summer. A special memento of this graduation exercise will be presented to all candidates in attendance today. Following President Gerberding's citation awarding the various bachelor's degrees, all candidates will be seated immediately and, under direction of the faculty marshals, will await their turn to come forward one row at a time.
On behalf of the regents and the faculty of this university, I am pleased to confer upon each of you your bachelor's degree. Congratulations, we are very proud of you. I now ask you to be seated and await your turn to come forward.
Commencement activities continue as the bachelor's degree graduates file up to the podium to receive their recognition and congratulations. We estimate that this part of the program will take about 35 minutes, and during this time we'll be providing you with additional information about the university and the commencement procedures.
You know, Jack, I was trying to decide which school yelled the loudest. What do you think?
Well, I think there were a couple of ties, but they certainly put some life into it,
I'll
didn't
say.
they?
You know, as has been mentioned earlier in the program, both by Dr. Gerberding, the commencement speaker, and others, this is the final graduation ceremony being presided over by President Gerberding. He's been at the helm of the university for 16 years. In fact, his is now the longest presidential term in the history of the university, which spans now 27 presidencies.
And as his accomplishments were pointed out, he was hailed for his leadership during the budget crisis of the 1980s and for revitalizing sagging salaries and programs here at the university. He has been credited with numerous accomplishments during his tenure, including major new building projects on campus. Certainly the face of the landscape around here has changed dramatically in the last few years. For his improved community relations and for new endowments for professorships, fellowships, and scholarships. His legacy to the university as a distinguished faculty, a reputation as a top-notch research institution, and 4 Nobel Prizes. He will be missed.
You're absolutely right. And so on this day, as we traditionally say goodbye to our graduates and good luck to them, we're also wishing goodbye, good luck, and a big thank you to our president, William P. Gerberding. However, something that we would like to announce today that actually became official yesterday, but many of you may not have heard it yet. It has to do with a very special honor that's been afforded to Dr. Gerberding.
And that honor is this. The Board of Regents has resolved that in recognition of and appreciation for his outstanding leadership of this great university, the administration building has been renamed and will be known forever hereafter as William P. Gerberding Hall.
That is really a fitting tribute to this man who's devoted so much talent and energy to the betterment of this university. And it will also serve as a great memory for us who will remain here. It's going to be hard for me. I work in that building. I've been used to referring to it as the administration building. It's going to take me some time to get used to a new name.
Well, I'm going to have to cultivate some new habits about how I recognize the building too, Pam. But I will keep that in mind, and I'm sure I'll be able to find you again.
Okay.
Let's sit back and watch now as the bachelor degree graduates come up and receive their recognition. You're watching Commencement 1995 on UWTV. This telecast is coming to you from Heck Edmondson Pavilion. I'm Jack Armstrong with co-host Pam Stewart as we bring you all the pomp and circumstance of this year's graduation ceremony. As we've been watching this afternoon, you may have noticed the medallion worn by President Charles Gerberding. The interesting notes about the medallion: the tradition of the President's Seal Medallion began in 1958 when Dr. Charles E. Odegaard was inaugurated as the university's 24th president. The Seal Medallion has been presented to each president at his installation and is worn at official ceremonies such as today's commencement.
Yeah, I'll try to describe that medallion in a little greater detail. As you can see, it's around his neck, suspended on a chain that's gold-plated, and the medallion itself is plated in 10-karat gold. It weighs about almost 5 ounces. It's about 2.5 inches in diameter. On one side of the medallion is the university seal with a facsimile of the 4 columns from the original Territorial University building, and it has the university motto on it. There you can see a little better picture of it. And on the other side are the words, Seal of the President of the University.
And Pam, I noticed that they're just moving the candidates through at a very brisk rate.
Yeah, this is moving pretty quickly here.
Yeah.
A little faster than this morning's ceremony, wouldn't you say?
Yes, they're in high gear. We'll watch them for a few moments as they come around, and the panorama, the spectacle, the enthusiasm. And again, we mentioned that feeling of electricity that charges through the crowd. There are smiles everywhere. There is an uplifting feeling throughout the auditorium amongst all of the viewers, spectators, parents, everyone here.
I know it's really great being up here in the audience with all the family and friends. There's a lot of activity up here. In fact, a lot of people are leaving their seats to get down and get a closer look. And actually, I'd probably classify it as a little chaotic, wouldn't you?
Well, I think so. In a sense, everybody's beginning to feel it. The race is on.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Well, let's watch the activity here for the next few moments.
This is UWTV, Channel 27, and we're proud to be bringing you this 120th commencement exercise from Heck Edmondson Pavilion on the University of Washington campus. We're continuing to watch bachelor's degree candidates receiving their congratulations from President Gerberding on this great achievement.
Pam, let's take this opportunity to reiterate some of the interesting statistics President Gerberding mentioned earlier in his opening remarks. That is that over half of the bachelor's and master's degrees being awarded today were earned by women.
I know, that is really remarkable. And he also talked a little bit about the professional degrees, mentioning that 45% of the lawyers are women, 47% of the new physicians are women, 27% of the new dentists. And another very heartening statistic. 39% of the PhDs this year were earned by women.
Well, and thinking about distinguished women, here's an interesting note from our early days at the university. Founded on November 4th, 1861, the university held its first graduation not until some years later, in 1876. And the number of students in that first class? Well, just one. And her name was Clara McCarty, perhaps familiar to some for the dormitory that was named after her, McCarty Hall.
Right, and she also went on to make additional history by being elected superintendent of schools in Pierce County, the first woman ever to hold that office. Jack, can you guess what the tuition was back in
Sure,
Clara's
because I'm
time?
looking right over your shoulder, Pam.
Oh, you're cheating. Okay. $30 a year. $30 a year was the
What a
tuition.
bargain.
Yeah, and books had to be shipped around the Horn from the east, and typewriters and fountain pens were virtually unknown at that time. Even notebooks and pen and ink were in short supply.
How times have changed. Everything is different. Where would we be today without our computers?
Right.
Signs of the times.
Yeah.
In 1990, the university opened two other campuses known as the University of Washington Tacoma and the University of Washington Bothell. We're pleased to report that the Tacoma campus held a graduation ceremony this past Wednesday with approximately 220 graduates. The Bothell campus held a ceremony this past Friday with approximately 250 graduates. And our congratulations to the graduates.
And for those of you who may not know or be unfamiliar with the branches, the curriculum on these campuses is designed for junior and senior students and leads to a Bachelor of Arts in Liberal Studies with two concentrations available, Comparative United States Studies or Comparative International Studies.
And Pam, looking at the platform while the bachelors move through in a very sprightly manner, we still have quite a few to come. Let's settle back, take a long look, and watch the festivities and the smiles and all of the murmurings of celebration we
Good
see
idea.
around here. This is UWTV, Cable Channel 27. Today we're proud to bring you the 120th graduation ceremony from the University of Washington's Heck Edmondson Pavilion. The commencement speech given today by Tom Brokaw will be aired again at 7:30 on June 14th. That's 7:30 in the evening on June 14th and again at 6 p.m. on June 17th. Both ceremonies will be shown in their entirety tomorrow, June 11th, beginning at 2:30 p.m. They'll also be aired the following week, June 12th through the 16th, that's Monday through Friday, beginning each night at midnight. That will give you an ample opportunity to videotape the proceedings. So we're delighted that we can bring that extra service to you. And we'll watch now as the candidates continue to come by. The lines are still a considerable number to go, and we'll just pick up on, really, at this point, the fun that's going on down there. As we continue to watch the festivities here in Heck Edmondson Pavilion, here's some thoughts that may be of interest for you that I'd like you to know that every effort has been made to accommodate those graduates and guests with physical disabilities. Special tickets were available for disabled or wheelchair guests, allowing access at the ground level entrance. There are ramps for the graduates to receive their diplomas, and on the right side of the stage you can see, as we look around from time to time, a sign language interpreter for the hearing impaired.
Jack, one thing we haven't talked about, and I think this is an appropriate time to bring it up as we watch the graduates stepping up to the dais to receive their awards, the value of these degrees, the value of the degrees that these graduates are receiving today. The Census Bureau has collected data over the years, and a comparison of, and they've done a comparison of average lifetime earnings between high school graduates and those with advanced degrees, and I think you have those statistics in front of you.
I do have them, and the statistics are revealing. In terms of economic practicality, those with BAs can expect to earn upwards of 70% more in a lifetime than those with just a high school diploma. For PhDs, that extra earning power is estimated at 150% higher than that of a high school graduate. And for professional degrees, well, it's over 200%.
Wow, those are really startling numbers. And if you couple that with the national reputation of this institution, graduates leaving today from the University of Washington are leaving with a very valuable ticket to the future. I'd like to interrupt here for a second, Jack. Right now we're looking at Dr. Tallman Trask III, the Executive Vice President here at the University of Washington for the past 9 years. But you may know that he recently has taken a new assignment. He is going to become the Executive Vice President at prestigious Duke University in North Carolina, and we will certainly miss him.
We certainly will, Pam. And there was an editorial that appeared in the Seattle Times on May 10th, right after Dr. Trask announced his departure, and I'd like to read a portion of that right now. It tells the whole story. Quote, President Bill Gerberding was right when he said Trask's departure will leave a large hole in the UW's administration, especially considering the impressive job Trask has done in the last 9 years. It is difficult to imagine the $400 million building program, including the Allen Library, the Physics Astronomy Building, additions to the Health Sciences Complex, being done without Trask's tough, effective management style, unquote.
So we all wish Tallman Trask the best of luck, and we extend our thanks to him for all of his incredibly valuable contributions to this institution. And with the retirement of Dr. Gerberding, a lot of leadership changes in store for the University of Washington.
Well, it's going to be exciting years ahead. The days ahead, the immediate days ahead are going to be very exciting. So I think everybody has a high sense of optimism about what is developing. The legacy is marvelous, and there's much to hope for in the future. And certainly part of that legacy is being looked at right here as we watch these graduates move through their commencement line. I'm sure there's an amount of anxiety with them as they leave, but they're leaving very well prepared.
We at UWTV are pleased to bring you this continuing coverage of the 120th Commencement exercise from Heck Edmondson Pavilion on the University of Washington campus. This telecast is being presented as a public service by the University of Washington and can be seen throughout most of the Puget Sound region on cable channel 27.
Pam, let's take this opportunity to give a brief profile of the University of Washington for our viewers. A few things that might put this institution into perspective, especially for those who are not totally familiar with it.
You know, Jack, many people have compared the University of Washington to a small city, and I think if you look at the population figures, you can see why. We have, close to 50,000 people here on any given day. Students this past autumn quarter, 1994, UW enrollment was almost 34,000. About 25,000 of those were undergraduates. The gender ratio split right down the middle, 50-50 men and women. And where do they all come from? Well, the vast majority, 83% of all UW students this year were residents of the state of Washington. And minority enrollment stood at about 25% this year.
Well, and here's a sense of the physical impact of this venerable 134-year-old institution. It sits on about 700 acres in the city of Seattle and comprises more than 200 buildings, and that's a bit of a surprising figure because you never see them all in one place at one time. A small city it is, indeed.
Well, we're watching the last of the bachelor's degree candidates receive their degrees. Jack, we talked earlier about the value. A big round of applause for all of the graduates. Jack, we talked earlier about the value of the UW degree and how well prepared these students should be for the future. But I'll tell you, as I was walking across campus the other day, sun shining, Mount Rainier looming in the distance, Drumheller Fountain in the foreground, I thought, gee, it must be really hard for a student to leave such a beautiful place.
And it is hard.
I should announce that this afternoon at 2:30, the Department of Transportation closed State Route 520, the Evergreen Point Bridge. So those of you returning to the east side of Lake Washington will need to take I-90. After the singing of the alma mater, the audience and members of the graduating class are requested to remain standing in their places until the recessional of the faculty is concluded. The graduating class and guests will then resume their seats. Under the direction of the commencement marshals, the graduates will march outside to meet their parents and friends. We urge that the order of the recessional be maintained until you leave the pavilion. The audience will now please rise for the singing of the alma mater. The words are printed on the inside of the back cover of the commencement program.
our sons from sea to sea. Our alma mater, Washington, our health we give to thee. Child of the mighty western land, you're the mother of a mighty race. The vigil holds in strength and purity and grace. All hail, O Washington, thy sons and daughters sing glad acclaim through years of youth and loyalty, and still in age we sing thy fame. In honor thy towers stand, thy battlements shine in dawning light, and glow again in sunset rays. All hail, O Washington!
The 120th Commencement exercises of the University of Washington are now closed.
Graduating class of 1995, faculty and dignitaries in full academic regalia are now taking their leave from Heck Edmondson Pavilion. And we'll soon be taking our leave from this coverage of Commencement 95 from the University of Washington. I'm Pam Stewart.
And I'm Jack Armstrong. A final congratulations to the latest University of Washington graduates, and a thank you to you, the viewer of this coverage. Commencement 1995 on UWTV on Cable Channel 27 has been presented as a public service by the University of Washington.
Graduates and guests, please be seated and wait your turn to exit. Thank you.
receive a free copy of the printed program for the 120th Annual Commencement from the University of Washington, write to Office of Public Exercises, Box 355833, University of Washington, Seattle, Washington, 98195, 5833.